On December 24, 1979, the world woke up to shocking news. The Soviet Union had sent tens of thousands of troops into Afghanistan. This sudden military intervention marked the beginning of a brutal decade-long war that would claim the lives of over 1 million people, displace millions more, and ultimately contribute to the unraveling of the Soviet Union itself. But why did one of the most powerful countries in the world decide to invade a tiny, mountainous nation in Central Asia? To understand this, we need to go back a few years and unravel the political, ideological, and strategic threads that led to this fateful decision. By the late 1970s, Afghanistan was in political turmoil. The country had been ruled by a monarchy for centuries, but in 1973, a coup led by Mohammed Daoud Khan overthrew the king, establishing a republic. At first, Daoud sought to modernize Afghanistan and reduce Soviet influence, but his reforms angered various factions within the country, particularly Islamist groups and communists. The Afghan Communist Party, also known as the People's Democratic Party of Afghanistan, PDPA, seized the opportunity. In April 1978, the PDPA staged a violent coup known as the Saur Revolution. They assassinated Daoud Khan and took power, installing Nur Muhammad Taraki as president. The PDPA promised to modernize Afghanistan rapidly, redistributing land, improving women's rights, and introducing secular education. But their methods were harsh, brutal, and deeply unpopular. Tribal leaders, religious figures, and ordinary citizens resisted, often with deadly consequences. Within months, Afghanistan was plunged into chaos, with violent uprisings erupting across the countryside. The Soviet Union, which had long viewed Afghanistan as part of its sphere of influence, watched these events with growing concern. The Kremlin feared that the instability in Afghanistan could spill over into the southern republics of the USSR, particularly in Muslim-majority regions like Uzbekistan and Tajikistan. Moreover, the Soviets were worried about the possibility of Afghanistan falling under the influence of the United States or its allies, which would challenge Soviet dominance in Central Asia during the height of the Cold War. Tensions within the PDPA further complicated matters. Nur Muhammad Taraki faced opposition from his deputy, Hafizullah Amin, who plotted to remove him. In September 1979, Amin successfully staged a coup within the coup, assassinating Taraki and consolidating power. The Soviets, alarmed by Amin's unpredictability and brutality, feared that his leadership could destroy their strategic interests in the region. They believed that the only way to protect their influence was direct military intervention. On December 24, 1979, Soviet forces crossed the border into Afghanistan. In a matter of hours, they secured key cities, airfields, and government buildings. Amin was captured and killed, and Babrak Karmal, a PDPA leader more loyal to Moscow, was installed as the new president. What the Soviets hoped would be a swift intervention turned into a prolonged nightmare. The Afghan people, however, were not willing to accept foreign occupation. Mujahideen fighters, composed of tribal warriors, religious leaders, and ordinary citizens, began a fierce resistance, receiving support from the United States, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, and other nations. The rugged terrain of Afghanistan made conventional warfare difficult, and Soviet troops found themselves trapped in a guerrilla war that would last nearly a decade. The invasion also had profound consequences for the Soviet Union. It drained the economy, demoralized the military, and exposed the USSR to international condemnation. By 1989, after years of fighting and facing mounting casualties and costs, the Soviet Union withdrew from Afghanistan, leaving behind a country devastated by war and a regime struggling to maintain control. The Soviet invasion of Afghanistan is often seen as a pivotal moment in Cold War history. It highlighted the limits of military power in achieving political objectives and showed how ideology, ambition, and miscalculation can lead to catastrophic consequences. For the Soviets, it was not just a foreign intervention. It was a harbinger of the eventual collapse of an empire that seemed unshakable just a decade earlier.